दंडवत दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी से माता जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
चंदन प्रभु
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे
जय
कृष्णा
श्री
प्रभु जी।
प्रभुपाद।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
सौम्या माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनावल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनावल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानन्दना जय ब्रज जनरञ्जना जय ब्रज जनरञ्जना जय यशोदानन्दना जय ब्रज जनरञ्जना जय ब्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी जय कुञ्ज बिहारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम्। So we are continuing our discussion on the second verse of Nectar of Instruction. We are discussing the 6 things which are not conducive for our progress in our spiritual life. Last couple of weeks we saw Atyahara. Atyahara is collecting more than necessary, or eating more than necessary, or engaging any of the senses when they are not necessary for one's own pleasure. That becomes Atyahara. All the senses can be used, must be used, keeping Krishna in the center. Then that is what is required. Now the second is Prayasa. Atyahara, Atyahara requires Prayasa. Atyahara means over and over. Then we have to work very hard. And then when we work very hard, it becomes difficult to make progress in our spiritual life, because like there is one person who is like, I'm at ISKCON Grand Rapids right now. So there is one person who was actually a construction person. So we gave him the contract to do some renovation work. And then I asked him that, why don't you check? Now, is my sound audible, clear, or there is a lot of background sound?
Yes, sir, full sound.
Clear? Okay.
No, full sound.
Yeah, so should I change the location or is it okay?
Yeah, I think maybe.
Sound is okay, but just in between, like when the hammer knocks, it's like we're missing few words in between.
Yeah, I will change the location. We have to come back here. They really need to fix things. Yeah, this should be better. So there is one construction contractor. We requested him for some renovation work. So I asked him that, you seem to be in mode of goodness. Why don't you practice some spiritual life? Then he said, I don't have time. So this is the thing, Prayasa. When there is over and over, it becomes, then there is no time for spiritual life. And that's what Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that 4 kinds of people don't come to me. and one of them is like very hard workers. I mean, Prayasa is very good when used in service of the Lord, and that is the right use of Prayasa. But when it is used only for one's own self, only keeping me in the center, and then no time for Lord Krishna, then that becomes unconducive for our spiritual life. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, work is necessary because you have to maintain the body. But Srila Prabhupada says you work 8 hours and the remaining time you use in Krishna consciousness. But if we are completely absorbed day and night in working only when we working only for one's own gain, then one becomes fruitive. Fruitive means I am working because I am going to get something from that work. That becomes fruitive. Even if we are serving Lord Krishna, but we are serving Lord Krishna because I am getting some money out of it. For example, some people may work for Krishna in a way and they get some salary out of it. Still, there is some fruity mentality there because I have to work because I'm getting something. But when the work is done without anything other than bhakti, why am I working? Because I want to make progress in my spiritual life. Then that hard work is required. Will take us back home, back to Godhead. So everything, even if over like greed, all these things, when used in Krishna service is perfect. And that's why these things exist. So I'm reading here what Prabhupada says: collecting and eating more than necessary also causes prayasa. Now, if you have to eat a lot, eat very much, then you have to work very hard to eat very much. And if that is also for one's own pleasure, one becomes entangled in prayasa or collecting or unnecessary endeavor. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and milk cow. This is something we discussed last week. There is no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood, for one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. That can solve all economic problems. This we discussed last week. Fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness or understanding of God, one's relationship with Him, and the ultimate goal of life, love of God. So Prabhupada says that is why we are given intelligence, is to understand who am I, who is God, what is my relationship, how the body is temporary, the soul is moving on, and then there are 8.4 million species the soul is taking, and I am in this cycle. So the right use of intelligence, why should I remain in the cycle of birth and death? What is true happiness and how to attain it? How to reawaken my relationship with the Lord? So intelligence used in this direction is the right intelligence. Something more Prabhupada says on Prayasa: karmis labor to accumulate more and more money for future generations only because they do not know their future position. It's like, we acquire, and then when we acquire little, which is sufficient for us, greed develops. I need some more, so I have to work a little more harder. Then we acquire some more, and then we feel like, no, I need to acquire a little more, and then greed increases, and there is sufficient but some more, it is not sufficient, and then one comes to a point that why waste time serving Krishna, and what am I getting out here? Let me invest the time where I'm getting something, so that becomes more important for me than serving Krishna. And this way the fruitive mentality, which is working only for material gains, it increases. So that's why one has to be cautious. So the karmis, they accumulate more and more money for future generation only because they do not know their future position. They don't know what's going to happen, so let's get more and more and more. interested only in getting more and more money for their sons and grandsons. Such foolish persons do not even know what their position is going to be in the next life. They are working so hard, but what is the result of all the hard work? Ultimately, they have to die, and all they have worked hard to accumulate will be lost from them. And then it causes so much pain because they work so hard to gain so much thing, and then those things, when it is lost, because of that attachment, so much pain. Actually, it is said that the experience of death is very, very painful, and it is not painful because of the bodily pain. It is painful because of the emotional pain. Like, um, I mean, I was just thinking, like one devotee, he lost something, something very important. Actually, he lost his job. I mean, it's a temporary circumstances. It's painful, but then he was devastated. He was devastated to such an extent that when I called him, Prabhu, what happened? And he kept on crying because he lost his job. So I was thinking that okay, probably he will get a job next month or so, but there is so much pain when the job is lost. And imagine when we, and then he was telling that I have worked very hard to build the team that I was working for, and I was a team manager, and now all my hard work is gone. Everything is lost. I am doomed. I am finished. So this is what happens at the time of death. This is a job which he will get another job anyways, and then he'll work very hard, and then one makes more and more thing, and then that thing also is lost. So at the time of that, everything is lost. Imagine once family member, when one's family member passes away, how much pain it causes. And then imagine if all the family members passes away, how much pain it will cause. Job is gone, and what one is most attached to is one's body. One takes so much care to maintain one's body, and the body is also lost. Everything is lost. Only thing that will come with us is how much advancement we have made in our spiritual life. That is the only thing that is going to come to us. But still, um 1 second. Okay. But still, one endeavors so hard, and then one, it is said that one endeavors so hard to acquire, to take care, to build, um, but ultimately, um, it is actually because of the influence of illusory energy. Because one actually feels that I can stay here forever, and let me make us safe and secure future here. Let me establish myself here. But one cannot establish oneself here because this world is temporary. So so such foolish persons, they do not even know what their position is going to be in the next life. There are many incidents that illustrate this point. Once a great karmi accumulated a vast fortune for his sons and grandsons, but later, according to his karma, he took his birth in the cobbler's house located near the building which in his previous life he had constructed for his children. So this is one of the stories from one of the Puranas. He built great fortune, and he had a lot of attachment for his sons and grandsons and all that he has acquired. And then based on his karma, he took birth as a cobbler and lived there because of his attachment. And Krishna also says at the time of that, whatever we contemplate, we receive a birth accordingly. So that's why if one is very much attached to one's family members, it is said that one can come back as one's son's son, or here came back as a cobbler. Or in the story of Bondhuram, if you have heard in Bhagavad Gita, we mentioned that story. He became a dog, and then he became a snake, and then he would always try to protect his sons. So it so happened that when this very cobbler came to his former house, his former sons and grandsons beat him with shoes. Unless the karmis and gyanis become interested in Krishna consciousness, they will simply continue to waste their life in fruitless activities. And that's why there is emphasis on um, um, Prayasa in working for Krishna will actually liberate us, and that is required. Okay, now we'll discuss Atyahara, and just now we discussed Prayasa, and now we will see Prajalpa. Prajalpa is a big cause, a big obstacle in our spiritual life. So there are 8 categories of Prajalpa as per Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One is useless talk, um, and there will be certain explanation of the various kinds of Prajalpas. Mona means don't talk, grave. This is also very good qualification, because generally when we talk, we simply talk nonsense. That's all. We shall sit together and some friends or family, some useless talks, we shall go on for hours together. But if you are called to talk about Krishna or Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, this philosophy, nobody will come. So better not to talk. This is better not to talk than to talk nonsense or foolish talk. So um, one of the qualities of a devotee is Mona. Mona means he speaks, he doesn't speak, which actually means that he doesn't speak uh, nonsense or useless talk. Useless talk can be like, in my personal experience in the office, one time some people were discussing how many calories are there in a hamburger. Now, how does it matter? I mean, for them maybe it matters, but yeah, it's a useless talk. Um, or talking about what is the new car coming. Have you seen the new model? Have you seen it has these features? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Just it's not going to help us make progress. So they come under this category. So when the things are talks are like this, better not talk. Mona. And when those people, those who are very much interested in all these useless talks, when you speak to them about Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, they're not interested, but they can talk for hours on useless subject matters. So Srimad Bhagavatam compares crow and swan. So crows are interested in all these useless talks. It can be talk about name and fame, talk about sex life, talk about um, um, wealth in some form. So they are very much interested. So many people gather there in those things. But swans or pure souls, they are interested in talking about the pastimes of Lord Krishna, the pastimes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They derive their pleasure in hearing about them, in reading about them, or Bhagavad Gita, but they are not so much interested. So one thing my spiritual master says is how much progress we have made in spiritual life can be seen by how much we are uninterested in useless talks. So a devotee, if people gather together and they are talking about some nonsense talks, some useless talks, then a devotee is like, he feels like, why am I here? How do I get out of it? And then in the mind he is like chanting Hare Krishna, and he doesn't want to participate at all any such talks. um, so how much we have become uninterested, or somebody speaking about some devotee, some other devotee, or faults of others, we will see these are different categories. So a devotee feels like, how do I get out of here? This is not good for my Krishna consciousness. So a serious devotee, he doesn't want to hear, he doesn't want to speak all useless talks. Then other category is, okay, 1 second. Another impediment is Prajalpa. This is from the purport, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking. So we feel like we are with friends, so I should speak something. Why should I be silent? No, better remain silent. So then we feel like we should talk something, and then we talk which is um, basically unnecessary talking. So it's compared to sounding like a croaking toads, and we saw when the toad or a frog, when he croaks, it invites snakes. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Um, like gravity is actually good. Grave means speak less. Actually, people actually respect those who speak less. And even then, actually, if you see in material world, some people they speak a lot, and then at least I personally not much in favor of those people. And then some people they speak less, and whatever they speak valuable, like relevant. Now that is also considered useless if it is not connected to Krishna or Krishna's service, or I mean, um, talking at jobs related to work is okay, because we must cultivate the idea of I'm working to maintain my family, to maintain myself, and then you see your family members as part and parcel of Krishna, and then we have to maintain ourselves. And if the body is not maintained, how can we make advancement in our spiritual life? So in that way, that is also relevant if you are talking related to those subject matter. But then things are which are not related to our work and not related to um, um, Lord Krishna. Things like emotional exchanges are okay, like within family members, talking about where we are struggling or the emotional crisis or something wrong, taking guidance from that perspective is okay. But without any purpose, just talking for the sake of talking, unnecessary talking, is not very conducive. So those outside.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Hmm.
We are in United States, and sometimes we move from one place to another. So there is like a need to build some relationship to get some association, because like it's not only every time we have devotees around, we have other people also. So in that case also we need to some friend circle, some association we need. So is that also like talking is like unnecessary, because like something we should have some association around, some friend circle, if there is some crisis or somebody should be there to help us. And I mean, there is something that if we not talk, then how the relationship will be built?
Mataji, see, we can either find devotee association there. If you don't find devotee association there, then you try to preach. Then you try to, I mean, be straightforward about preaching. Like I remember Yugal Kishore Prabhu used to come from New Vrindavan to Farmington Hills. He doesn't know anyone. And then one time, there was some congregation, and he has a lot of friends, and then very good association. And then he said, there was no association for me here, so I made my association, or devotee association. Um, in friend circle, helping them is okay. Um, but somehow, what I personally seen, um, share your heart with devotees, take guidance from devotees, stay around devotees if possible, and with outsiders, hello, hi is okay. And yeah, if you take association from them, if you're inspired by them, then we will become weak in our Krishna consciousness. Then they will go to McDonald's and we will also go with them because they want us to go. And then they will invite us home, and then we will become forced to eat, and then we just go into the loop, which is not conducive. Now depends what kind of devotee you want to become, but serious devotees, no, they don't do those things. um, um, did I answer, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So those outside of Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels. solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. So they are all considered Prajalpa. Magazines, novels, newspapers, and yeah. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men retire from active life, play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless social political schemes after retirement. So, I mean, this is basically, um, yeah, they are wasting their valuable time. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. So, ideally, if we want to become sincere about our Krishna consciousness, get up in the morning. If you know Mangal Arati, it takes 3 minutes to sing. That is glorification of one's guru, spiritual master. Do that. Chant 16 rounds. Cook. Offer bhoga to Lord Krishna. Cook in a mood thinking that Krishna is hungry. It's time for Krishna to eat. Let me quickly cook. Eat. Honor Prasad. Krishna has given me this remnants with gratitude. And then work. If you have work, or as a housewife, then you can teach your children whatever subject matter for their schooling, and then try to engage your children in some Krishna conscious activity. Try to teach them about Krishna uh, in some way or the other. So Krishna and their studies go in parallel. In the evening, devotees can read for some time, take some time out to study Srimad Bhagavatam. And then what one thing which really spiritualizes our Krishna consciousness is um, having deities at home. That really helps because we become centered around the deities. Then if you have some remaining rounds you finish, families can come together and talk. Emotional exchanges, spending some time together, good, but not talking about other, not complaining about others, but even if somebody has done wrong, then one is like, then one can talk not from the perspective of putting somebody else's down, which is not very conducive, but in a way it was difficult for me to deal in this situation. How do I manage my consciousness in such situations? So presenting in a relatively very pure way, and then spend some time with children, um, dinner cooking, eating. If there are some online Zoom classes, we associate with them, some programs, we go there. um, and yeah, early to bed and early rising and continuing, and especially over the weekends devotees have some services in the temple. Once we start taking services connected to temple, we become really busy, and if we don't have any such thing to make ourselves busy, then we should desire. Like many times devotee ask, especially when they are beginning in their Krishna consciousness, that how can we make ourselves busy? Because the thing is, if we are not engaged in Krishna conscious activity, we are naturally engaged in non-Krishna conscious activities. And how do we actually become Krishna conscious? It starts with a desire. That's how. When we desire that I want to do some seva, um, that's a sign of progress. And when you have desire, Krishna will reciprocate. Krishna will bring you some service, and then you become grateful because the thing is, in beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, one cannot just hear and chant the whole day because we don't have that taste. Um, so after 16 hours, we may feel like, enough of chanting now. And after reading maybe half an hour, then we may feel like, I can't read some more, I'm exhausted with reading, because the taste is not there. On advanced stages, like pure devotees, they can relish chanting, they can chant a lot, they can read a lot, they can read for hours, and there are many examples. Like Radha Govind Maharaj would read Bhagavatam for 8 hours every day. And there are many examples because they have developed such taste. But in our situation, we need to do some physical seva. We need to remain busy, um, because if we are not engaged in activities centered around Krishna, then that creates a free gap. And then free gap, then we'll talk about others. Then and then so much Prajalpa will come, or we will endeavor very hard for material gains, and then Prayasa will come, and then we will free time, um, will engage in more sense gratification. Then Atyahara will come. So our Krishna consciousness beginning, it's okay. See, the progress in spiritual life is gradual. So initially, we may be engaged in a lot of materialistic activities, and then we chant 2 rounds, and then once in a while we offer bhoga to Lord Krishna. Once in a while we hear, and that feels like sufficient. And but slowly, slowly, as you keep doing, the faith will develop, experiences will come, and then the enthusiasm to become serious, sincere in Krishna consciousness will increase. And then gradually, you will start hearing more. The beginning stages of Krishna consciousness, um, hearing becomes extremely important. So you will go to YouTube and you will hear various devotees lectures, especially the devotees you like to hear. You hear them more, and you are building like. Then when you hear more, your intellect becomes sharp, and then you become more discriminatory. That this is not conducive. But when we are not hearing sufficiently, and then we will be engaging in materialistic activities, and then we will have offensive thoughts like, that's okay, we can't be just Krishna conscious. I mean, there are many things to do, there are so many priorities, so many important things. These thoughts are coming because intellect is not sharp enough at this point of time. We don't have the discrimination power at this point of time, and we have to hear. When we hear, when we read, we become intelligent. When we become intelligent, then we become careful about what is conducive for my spiritual life, what is not conducive. And as you become more and more sincere, you will see everything that we are discussing will become the part of our life. That's why in the beginning I said nectar of instruction for serious devotees, because those who really want to make progress, now this is going to help us make quick progress. And even if you don't hear nectar of instruction, if you just become serious devotees, Paramatma will inspire you in this direction anyways. Bhakti Tirth Maharaj says, if you just sincerely chant the holy name of Krishna, Divyagan Hriday Prakashito, the knowledge will be revealed to you from within your heart. And real knowledge is realized knowledge. Realized knowledge means when it comes from your heart. Otherwise, when we have Lord Krishna's mercy, these things will become part of our lifestyle. And they will be, nobody has to tell us anything. We will just do it by default. That is Lord Krishna's mercy within our heart. But when we lack Lord Krishna's mercy, then even after hearing, we will find fault in hearing. Why is it like this? It is not practical. We cannot do this. This is too much. And then we have to hear, we have to read, and sharpen our intellect, and chanting especially early in the morning. And then if the time comes that you say or you think, I'm very busy, I cannot take even more services, then you are very fortunate that I have many things to do in serving Krishna. Then there'll be no scope for then a devotee. One of the quality of a devotee doesn't waste time. Then there is no scope for Atyahara or Prayasa or Prajalpa, because no time, because one has become busy. So that's why there is so much emphasis on association. because association, especially when we are near any temple or center or connected in some way, that association will bring seva. Because if there is no association, there will be no seva. And if there is no seva and we don't have the capacity to hear and chant whole day, naturally we'll engage in other activities unless one is really, really driven in their heart. So I'm going to continue further. Those outside of Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers. Now they have nothing to do. So they read newspapers. Like one time, Srila Prabhupada was going by and then he saw some people were playing golf. So Prabhupada was like, what is that? And devotee said, Prabhupada, they are playing golf. And Prabhupada asked, what is golf? Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, devotee said, Prabhupada, they tried to put a ball in a hole. And then Prabhupada said, and what else? So they said, that's it, Prabhupada. They tried to put a ball in a hole. That's all. So many people, so many rich people, they are trying to put a ball in a hole. That's all. The devotee said, yes, Prabhupada, that's all. It's difficult to put a ball in a hole. And so they are putting all their energy to put a ball in a hole. And Prabhupada started laughing. Prabhupada said, they are trying to put ball in a hole because they don't have any goal. Because they don't have any goal, actually useless people. So they don't have any goal, so they're trying to put a ball in a hole. Why? Because you have to waste time somewhere. Then either read newspaper or put a ball in a hole or try to solve some cross puzzles or read some novels, read some magazines. Why? Because nothing to do. I remember when I would live in the apartment before I joined the temple, like maybe 10 years back. One devotee, Saturday, Sunday, he would sit around television and watch the television the whole day. And then he was completely tired of watching so much television. And then he would sleep on the couch in the afternoon. Then he would become very lazy by that. Then he doesn't even want to cook. Then he would go and get some meat product and then he would eat. And then he would come, lie down, and then watch television whole day. And why? Because doesn't know what to do. Life seems purposeless. Life seems somehow pastime. Somehow try to enjoy. Somehow extract some pleasure for oneself. And one is actually miserable. One is miserable. Krishna says in mode of ignorance. Krishna says mode of ignorance is misery in the beginning, misery in the end. If you work very hard, then the mode of passion, then you gain something fruitive. There is passion. But goodness is like you selflessly work, selflessly serve. But transcendence is like keeping Krishna in the center. So Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is a gradual upliftment of consciousness. And this will come about if we have 5 things on regular basis. They are called 5S of Krishna consciousness. And they are satsang, association. Then there is sadhana, which is hearing, reading, and chanting on daily basis. So there is satsang, there is sadhana, there is seva, which is some kind of service. And then there is sadachar, which is good behavior. And then there is swadhyay, which is basically reading scriptures. And gradually one becomes more and more serious. So in this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy because they don't know what to do. So they waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men retire from active life, play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless social political schemes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. Okay, and then there is arguments. Arguments is another form of Prajalpa. Arguments is to defeat others, and One argues because of false ego. One identifies when someone is not willing to accept what we have to say, then we feel offended that why they are not willing to accept, and then the ego is hurt, and then the mood, I mean, for devotees, the mood goes from giving them Krishna, the mood goes from how to connect them, love and compassion. The mood goes into the mood of I want to win over this conversation. I want to prove my point, and that leads to argumentation. Argumentation can happen at very, very small things, to buy this or not to buy this, or it can happen at any, and that also is part of Prajalpa. To defeat, show off one's knowledge. See, I know this. See, I can prove my point. See, I have this realization. Or to win over, and arguments makes heart hard. One becomes hard when one is in that, because soft heart means you feel for others. Hard hearted means we are concerned only about ourselves, and we don't care about others' feelings. So argumentation becomes that, leads to that. So this is another form of prajalpa. Then gossip. What is gossip? There is some one conversation. Once Upendra was talking with other devotees while he waited outside Prabhupada's door. Prabhupada, who are you talking to? Upendra. I am talking to the devotees, Prabhupada. Prabhupada. What are you talking about? Upendra. Just about things and other devotees. Prabhupada. That is gossip. Gossip will destroy this movement. So what are you talking about? Just other things and other devotees. Now, we can glorify other devotees, like this devotee, humility is very attractive. This devotee's, um, um, whatever, his deity worship is very attractive. When this devotee dresses very nice, this devotee, kirtans are very nice, or those are okay, glorifying devotees. But just talking about other devotees, not in the mood of glorifying, or just talking about other things with devotees, that is not devotee association. Devotee association, actually association means getting inspired to become serious in Krishna consciousness. Then we have taken association. So suppose we hear a class on chanting, and then we feel like, oh, I should chant some more, I should take chanting more seriously. Now actually we have taken, or we see a devotee who chants a lot, and then seeing that devotee we feel like, I should also chant. I mean, I can chant and I'm not chanting. I should do something about it. Now we have taken devotee association. Association means becoming inspired. But if we are with devotees, but we are not having that eagerness to grow or inspiration, then actually, or especially if we talk about other things not related to Krishna, then becomes prajalpa. Now, if you see, devotees may stay together maybe whole day, months, years, but the center is Krishna. The center is Seva. Like, for example, in the temple, we are four people who are temple residents. And then all our talk are centered around um, Seva or Krishna. Like today the service happened late. I was 2 minutes late. Um, um, Today I was not very satisfied. Seems like some devotees offended by me. Can you help me to find out why this is happening? Or Prabhu, I heard this pastime of Lord Krishna and Madhumangal, and then this is how it was, and it was so inspiring. Or Prabhu, I heard this today. Or while devotees take prasad, they hear some lecture. Light moments are also good, light moments, but but one has to have a guard that I'm not acting out of envy, my talks, or yeah, Paramatma will inspire us. So talking just about things means devotees coming together and discussing about corona fear. I mean, now I think it's gone, but some new topics will come. What about this and what about that? That is talking about other things. So this comes under gossip. So there is arguments, there is gossip, and there is debates over philosophical and controversial issues. What about this? Like, okay, I cannot give examples because they are controversial topics. Um, mm, okay, like for example, it can be neutral topic for debate can be why soul fell down from spiritual world. Soul fell down from spiritual world because soul wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna. Okay, so independent of Krishna, enjoyment is envy. So how can there be envy in spiritual world? So why? So there was no envy. No, there was no envy, but misuse of free will. Okay, but how can we misuse free will which is centered around envy? So and then the debate may go on and on and on, and there is no conclusion. And so um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said on this particular topic, somehow or other, he says, somehow or other, I have fallen in this ocean of material existence. So one devotee asked Prabhupada, how I came here. Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter how you came here. The fact is you are here now. So try to find a solution how to get out of here. Doesn't matter how you came here. And then there is fault finding. Fault finding is putting someone down mentally. Fault finding will go away as we enhance our Krishna consciousness. When the mind is disturbed, we want to blame somebody else for my disturbance. Why I'm going through this anxiety, because this person, because of that person, this person is not sincere. And basically any, like, this is very, very detrimental for our Krishna consciousness, and that faces a lot of obstacles. And this fault finding comes under Prajalpa category. How to overcome this habit? This tendency is actually very, very deep. How to overcome? Well, first of all, why fault finding is there? Because of envy. And then anything, like when we find fault, we may say something at some point of time. We may try to tolerate, but at some point of time, if we have negativity for some person, we will end up in expressing it either by our behavior, by our actions, by our words, and that leads to Vaishnava Aparadha. It all begins with fault finding. And then who is at loss? We ourselves are at loss. We go through difficulties in our Krishna consciousness. And this tendency is actually quite deep. What actually, and this is a loop, because when our chanting is not good, we will end up in finding faults. When our Krishna consciousness is not nourishing, we'll find faults. And when we find faults, we make further mistakes. And then it leads to, we become more unnourished in our Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, if our chanting is very good, if we are absorbed, then love will emanate, compassion will emanate from us in all direction. So that's why the sign of good consciousness, when the consciousness is good, our chanting will be absorbed and we will derive a lot of nourishment. So there is a negative loop there. So how to come out of it? My personal experience: take shelter of Lord Krishna, especially when we see that I'm helpless, because it's the mind. And the mind is not pure. Lord Krishna says mind is our biggest enemy, and mind present all these thoughts. And the fact is, ego is there, envy is there, fault finding tendency is there. So when they are there, we can't just get us free from those things. They are there. And we are kind of helplessly bound by these emotions. So what we have to do, the only option is take shelter of Krishna. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one who takes shelter of me will easily cross over all the obstacles in life. These are all obstacles. So my Lord, please help me in this situation. Please help me come out of it. I have behaved in this manner with this particular devotee. Paramatma many times tells us also. Actually, we know our consciousness. We know what is going wrong. We know this is wrong. And when we feel helpless, in a state of helplessness, naturally a devotee calls out to Lord Krishna. Krishna, please help me. And then when Krishna helps us, when you actually pray, when you take shelter, even if we have done something wrong, acted, behaved by our action, by our words, by our behavior, Krishna can rectify that. Krishna is sitting in the heart of all living entities, even in the heart of those living entities whom we feel, we acted inappropriately, we found fault in them in whichever way. So Krishna can resolve it. So that's why it becomes very important. Take shelter of Lord Krishna. And actually this um, um, facilitates taking shelter of Lord Krishna. So this is fault finding. And then speaking falsehood. To protect one lies, one has to speak. To protect one lie, one has to speak so many lies. So speaking falsehood is also kind of Prajalpa. Prajalpa means one of the form of Prajalpa is lying. It is very easy to lie, but try to be honest. Try to be truthful, even if it costs a price. Try to be truthful. And there are so many instances where devotees tend to take shelter of falsehood in order to protect oneself. And this should be avoided as much as possible. For example, be honest, be open, be truthful. It builds so much integrity. Like I can speak a lot on this topic because of my personal experiences. I will share a few of them. One devotee, he would always speak lie at small things, like this thing, this thing costs $10. So he would say, actually this thing is very expensive, it costs like huge amount of money, and I've done this for you. Actually he is doing this just to show off himself, basically. And then when he would, sometime we have a point to make and we want others to agree to the point I'm trying to make, and then we take shelter of lies and falsehood to prove our point. What happens is the truth is revealed to them at some point of time and we lose integrity. So when some people I know, they take shelter of lies to prove their point. When they make a point, I don't trust them. Whatever they say, I don't trust them. Why? Because they have lost their integrity, at least in front of me. So I know I cannot believe them. I have to see for myself. So yeah, be ready to face the consequences, but don't take shelter of falsehood. Like one time what happened, we had Bhakti Vriksha in Grand Rapids. So at one point what happened, probably um, um, 6-7 families got COVID positive all at once. And then devotee said, let's say that Shamananda is not available and that's why we don't have program. Or let's say that many people are traveling, that's why, because we cannot have program that week. Let's say this, let's say that. I said, no, say many people are COVID positive, so we won't have program for the safety of everyone else. Then they say, but it may create some vibes that everybody is COVID positive, so people may not want to come in future also. I said, that's okay, whatever it is, it is. Say the truth. Just say, this is why we are not having program. Our tendency, every small thing, we take shelter of lies. Like one person, he actually had some problem in job, because he, I mean, there is a lot that can be spoken on this. He had some problem in job, and that was because of some ethical issue. And then somebody asked him, why you had this thing, and then he just lied because of this thing. And then he asked me, I said, just say, yes, I made a mistake. There was some ethical issue that I should not have done, and I will be more careful next time. But the thing is, people lack guts because desire to be respected. Um, very deep actually. And I have personally seen, you say one lie, and then when lie is revealed, and Krishna will make sure your lie will come in front of others at some point of time or another. And when lie is revealed, that this person was lying, it's such a loss of integrity, such a loss of integrity. The other person loses faith in us actually. And then to hide one lie, you have to say more lies, and then you have to say more lies, and it simply causes us so much anxiety, lying after lying after lying. So speaking falsehood is another kind of prajalpa. We saw 6 of them. Useless talks is like talking about just some things. Then arguments, trying to prove our point, or making others, like trying to prove that I am right. There's also similar to debates, but debates are like, arguments can be of anything, but debates are specifically philosophical points, and then controversial topics, and then discussing. And then we discuss on controversial point. Then we come to a point that the other person wants to stick to his belief, and then he's quoting Shastra, sticking to his belief, and this person is quoting Shastra and various things he has heard, sticking to his point, and they both don't want to agree to each other. And this is all Prajalpa. And then it ends up in, both devotees have difference of opinions. And when they see each other later on, they feel like not talking to each other, avoiding each other because of the argument they had in the past. So gossip, then fault finding, then speaking falsehood, and then there is blaspheming devotees. This is highly detrimental. um, it happens, especially if you, if you only know devotees, it happens. Because we are trying to be very careful, but sometimes we may give up that bar of being careful, and then we may make mistake. um, um, yeah, and definitely.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I have one question.
Hmm.
Um, Regarding this falsehood and blaspheming devotee, suppose you are got hurt from a devotee by something. I mean, the devotee did not, intentionally. I mean, some talk which which you feel bad about it or something, and then after that incident, you may have some thought process coming, which you don't want to have that thought process in your mind, but it's coming by natural because you are not that pure, because you are not that pure in that way. So maybe that bad thoughts is kind of a blaspheming in the mind, but actually you're not speaking to someone. How to avoid such situation, and another question is in the speaking falsehood, like suppose if there are some things which are very personal to you, which you don't want to share, and someone ask about that topic or something, and you don't want to say something like about it. So how should I handle that situation?
Yeah. So if it is something personal and you don't want to share, then you can say that, Prabhu, it's personal. That's all. So agree not to say, and tell them that, yeah, Prabhu, I don't feel like sharing at this point of time, and that's okay. Yeah. But don't try to cover it up. That is best. Does it answer, Prabhu? The second question.
Yes, Prabhuji. But that will not feel a bad impression to that person. Like, if I say like it's very personal, I mean, they thought of asking this and then we say personal, so it won't be offended to that person.
No, you can say in a nice way. Like it is said that it's not what you say, but it's how you say. Or you can say, Prabhu, please forgive me, I'm not comfortable sharing this. And they will understand. Just say it in a nice way. Good.
Yes, Prabhuji. And how about that other question, first question?
Yeah. Now that is a very difficult thing because um, because we are hurt, and then naturally many thoughts may come. Two things. One thing is taking a humble position and then seeing the truth in what the other person is saying and understanding his viewpoint and seeing why he said what he said. And maybe there is some reason behind it. That's a sign of humility, is accepting. Um, um, and or even if they're not right, even if they're wrong, um, then you think that, okay, even if it is done this way, ultimately Krishna is the doer. The result of it will be dependent upon Krishna. And even if they are going in that direction and they may be wrong, I'm just giving one example. Later on, if there is something personal, you can ask me with the situation, I can help more there. But okay, maybe.
Prabhuji, the question is like, if you're doing some service, correct, and then I mean you're putting your lot of effort in that, and then later on, like kind of there's some pinpointing or some they're not happy with your service, then I mean you will try to improve, but still things are not going your way. So, and then they say something like which you feel bad about it, maybe not direct, maybe indirect. So, how to handle such situations? So, because I had experience, I felt like I had a lot of thoughts came in my mind about that devotee, because I felt like I'm putting my lot of effort and it's not going my way. So I mean, it is in the category of the blaspheming devotee, but I don't know. So Prabhuji is sort of checking how to handle such
Yeah,
situations.
thank you, Prabhu. It's a very wonderful question, and very commonly we may face these circumstances. Um, one of the quality of a devotee like yourself is forgiveness. Yes, that's okay. I'm trying to do it to please my Guru, Srila Prabhupada, to please Lord Krishna, and obstacles faced while rendering service to them, it's okay, I will tolerate it. And then if negative thoughts toward that devotee is coming, you can pray to Krishna, my Lord, please help me, I don't want any negative thoughts. And then still if you feel very much like hurt, then seeing fault in oneself, even if there is none, even if whatever everything you did actually is very honestly um, in your best interest, even then Krishna likes the particular consciousness where you think actually the devotee may be right. Actually, yeah, like when you see the fault in yourself, that actually yes, then you won't have that feeling for others. This is one way. Um, and this another thing, my request is don't say anything. Uh, bring the poison, wait for time to pass, and pray to Krishna to help come out of it. And then hearing some lecture on a particular topic can help. Even if you hear lecture of, say, if you're aspiring from a spiritual master Srila Prabhupada hearing, please help me come out of this situation, and hear with that intention. Or if it's a particular topic, like maybe like fault finding, maybe like blaspheming, maybe whatever topic is most closest, to hear lecture on that from a personality you love. And then slowly, if you just desire, these are activities that that are actions um, that are arising from your desire to come out of this situation in a positive way. And that desire of yours, I don't want it, and the action, what you are doing because you don't want it, it will help resolve the situation. Is it all right, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. So we should not lose the enthusiasm of that service, correct?
Yeah. Yes. We should continue the service at all costs, Prabhu, despite all obstacles. And whatever difficulties come in those service, just take it as Krishna's arrangement for our own purification and continue that service, because Krishna will put us in hard circumstances, because Krishna has faith that we will continue our service in those situations, and those circumstances will purify us from it. They will build our tolerance, they will build our, like, so we can face even more difficult circumstances and still maintain our consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So it's almost time. Maybe I think there is one last one, and worldly talk. Talking about the word, and that's all. So uh, one second. Yeah, there are some more talks about Prajalpa that we can see next week. Now, if there is some discussion, we can do now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. In so Prabhuji, as you said, in Prayasa, sometimes we maybe in the go live times and all, we have to work more only, right, Prabhuji? So 15-16 hours we have to work during the go live times. For it's not like always, but maybe for a month or two we have to do like that. So, but how to connect with Krishna during those times, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that's okay. If you can um, get your work done in relatively less number of hours, but if your work demands that, it's okay to work. Let that be a temporary phase. And then keep your minimum chanting and little bit reading and little association maybe over the weekends, so that keeps your Krishna consciousness going nicely. One becomes incriminated in Prayasa when one actually willingly wants to work very hard, and one works only for one's material gains, and now some more somewhere else, more. How do I get? And then for the person who is working mainly for material gains, spending time more in Krishna for him seems like, what am I going to get out of it? So that becomes unconducive. But here temporary phase is okay, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, one more question. In Prajalpa, some people they talk like indirectly, Prabhuji, which I don't like. But how to, if directly, okay, you have done this wrong. If anyone says, I will accept and I'll try to correct. But indirect way, I can't take it, Prabhuji. So how to handle that, Prabhuji?
Can you say something more? Like somebody criticizes indirectly?
Yes, Prabhuji.
You want to say something more on this so I can understand more?
That means talking, I mean going to the, okay, she has done this wrong, and talking, instead of talking to me, they're talking to some other ones.
About you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that you can do is don't try to prove yourself that how you were right, and you obviously may be right, and the other person may have developed, or they may question you, have you done this? Don't try to put that person down who has put you down. um, it will save your, like, don't get into the loop of saving yourself. One story connected to this is Shivas Thakur. He, Narad Muni, basically incarnation. He was he would perform whole night Sankirtan with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and others. And one of the envious soul, whose name was Gopal Chapala, he was not admitted in that nightly Sankirtan, so he was very much offended. So he brought a lot of paraphernalia of Kali worship with some wine and some various things. And then in the morning, he called all the villagers and he said, see, this is what they do in the night. They drink wine and they enjoy with women and they eat these kind of stuff. And this is their truth. So Shivas Thakur came out. All the villagers are looking at him. And Gopal Chapala made an allegation to the villagers about Shivas Thakur. And Gopal Chapala said, now you all know my truth. This is who I am. And he did not try to protect himself. And the villagers, because of the integrity of Shivas Thakur, the villagers actually they cleaned the area, and they kind of did not lose faith in Gopal Chapla because Gopal Chapla was a man of integrity. He would speak the truth, and he was a genuine soul. He was a genuine soul by himself. But Gopal Chapala, because of the offense he committed to Shivas Thakur, he contracted leprosy. It's the worst disease one can have. And because of his offense, same day, he was thrown into the Ganges, because leprosy is like, anybody with leprosy touches another person, they also get leprosy. So it's contracted, whatever we say, that kind of disease. So they threw him out. But the idea is Gopal Chapla was not trying to protect himself. So it's a very difficult phase when somebody else speak about us in a negative manner. And if you hear from your friends that this person is talking about them, then don't try to connect, don't try to prove yourself, and pray to Lord Krishna to help you in this situation. And my small realization is those people to whom you have been criticized by somebody else, they will be with you and they will develop deeper and deeper faith in you by Lord Krishna's mercy, if you just don't try to protect yourself. As far as and yeah, another way that I see is why I'm going through this difficult time is because I have done something wrong in the past, and my past is coming back to me. I have given hard time to somebody in my life, and that's why somebody else is giving me hard time. So it's my own karma coming back to me. And then when you see from that perspective, then you will not have negativity towards the person who is giving you hard time, because you know that this is not the reason. The reason is the material nature. The reason is Krishna. Everything that goes around comes back. So that that will help you not to cause suffering to the other person. Other thing is, you can see that uh, the other person who is actually criticizing, he is actually suffering. And because the person is suffering, he is criticizing. And then if you see that the other person is suffering, then you will feel like, I don't want them to suffer. Then you will feel like, okay, how do I reduce the suffering of the other person? So instead of one self-protection, you goes into the mood of compassion. Okay, how can I relieve the suffering of other person? How can I resolve? How can I please the other person in this way? So these are all ways that can help. So one is, don't protect yourself. even if you are criticized. Second is see that it's our own karma coming back to us. And third is seeing that the other person is also suffering. So how can I help the other person instead? So instead of thinking, how can I help myself? We are thinking, how can I help the other person? And this is very pleasing. This behavior is very pleasing, Lord Krishna. Does it answer, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. So then we can end here. My obeisances to all of you. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnavendra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble servant. Thank you very much. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Danvat
Hare
Pranam
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji.